Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Look, we all absolutely love the tax-free benefits of an ISA, right? But today, we're diving into a bit of a financial minefield that actually catches out thousands of UK savers every single year. It's like any powerful tool. You really need to understand exactly how it works, especially when you need to use it in a hurry.
Because here's the thing, the day you decide you actually need to access your ISA money, you might just find yourself staring down a series of totally unexpected walls, waiting periods, and penalties that honestly, nobody warned you about. And let's face it, the absolute worst time to learn about withdrawal rules is when you're in an emergency and desperately need the cash.
So, here's our survival guide for today. First, we'll cover the hidden withdrawal trap, then stocks, shares, and timelines, the punishing Lisa penalty, peer-to-peer and junior ISAs, and finally, how to strategically layer your wealth.
Okay, let's jump right into Section 1, the hidden withdrawal trap inside cash ISAs.
You see, not all cash ISAs work the same way. Easy access ones? Usually fine, but things get super messy with fixed-rate products. If you break a fixed-rate cash ISA early, you could lose 60, 90, or literally even 180 days of interest. Take Sandra from our source material. She locked £20,000 into a 2-year fixed cash ISA. 14 months in, boom, an emergency hits. Because her provider's penalty was 180 days loss of interest, Sandra lost a staggering £473.70 simply for needing her own money during a crisis. And get this, some providers won't even let you withdraw early at all.
Which brings us to what I call the redeposit trap. If you withdraw from a standard non-flexible ISA, your tax-free allowance is permanently burned for that year. It's just gone. Say you put 20 grand in, take out 4,000 for an urgent repair, and then try to put it back 2 months later, the bank is going to flat out say no. But with a flexible ISA, you can safely put that cash right back in within the same tax year without it counting as a new contribution. It's a real game changer. You've always got to check if your provider offers a flexible ISA.
Now here's another massive trap that catches people out when they try to switch banks. Listen closely to this one. If you want to move money between providers, you must absolutely never manually withdraw it yourself to your current account. If you do, it officially counts as a withdrawal. So putting it into the new bank, that counts as a brand new contribution. If your allowance is maxed out for the year, you will literally destroy your tax-free status permanently. Always use a formal ISA transfer so the money just moves invisibly between providers.
All right, moving on to Section 2, stocks, shares, and timelines, market risks and settlement delays.
Okay, so let's say you need your money from a stocks and shares ISA. You can't just hit a button and get it. The investments actually have to be sold first. There's a really critical gap here. You issue the instruction to sell on day 0, but the cash doesn't actually settle until T+2. That's trade day plus 2 days. And only then can you withdraw it, which usually takes another 1 to 3 working days. So you're realistically looking at a hurry up and wait situation of up to 8 working days before the cash physically hits your bank account.
But honestly, the delay isn't even the biggest danger here. It's market timing. If you treat an investment account like an emergency fund, you're exposing yourself to severe market timing risk. Think about Rachel. She invested 30 grand and it grew to 38,000. Awesome, right? But then a market correction hit and her portfolio dropped to 27,000. At exactly that worst possible moment, her rent went up and she desperately needed £8,000. She was forced to sell at those depressed prices, locking in a permanent loss. Even when the market recovered 6 months later, her money was already gone. This is exactly why you should never put money you might need within 5 years into the stock market.
Let's roll into Section 3, the punishing Lisa penalty, lifetime ISAs.
The Lifetime ISA, or LISA, has what is probably the most complex and restrictive withdrawal regime out there. There are exactly 3 rigid circumstances where you escape a penalty: buying a qualifying first home that costs under £450,000, reaching your 60th birthday, or, sadly, facing a terminal illness diagnosis. That is it. Outside of those 3 very specific rules, you are going to trigger a massive fine.
Now, a lot of people just assume the penalty basically takes back the 25% government bonus, right? Like putting you back to square one. But the math tells a completely different counterintuitive story. That 25% penalty applies to the total pot. So say you put in £4,000 and get a £1,000 bonus, you have £5,000. A 25% penalty on £5,000 is £1,250, which means you only get back $3,750. So it eats the entire bonus and £250 of your own original hard-earned money. Oh, and if you had any investment growth, the penalty takes a bite out of that too.
And there's more. Even if you follow the rules perfectly for a house purchase, the money completely bypasses you. It goes straight to your conveyancer. And to do that, they have to navigate a government portal and, well, we all know how fast and flawless those usually are. This triggers an agonizing 30-day administrative delay. If your completion date is suddenly bumped up and you haven't started this process weeks in advance, this lag can literally jeopardize your entire property purchase.
Next up, Section 4, Peer-to-Peer and Junior ISAs, IFASs and GISAs.
So, what happens when your money is tied up in other people's loans through an innovative finance ISA? Well, you definitely can't just pull it from a bank vault. Your path to your money is pretty fractured. You either have to wait for the natural loan maturity, which could take ages, or you have to try to sell it at a huge discount on an illiquid secondary market. And worst case scenario? During an economic crisis, if the platform itself collapses, your money could vanish entirely. Remember, unlike a standard bank account, the Financial Services Compensation Scheme does not protect money you've lent out.
Meanwhile, we have the Junior ISA. This one has the absolute strictest withdrawal rule of the entire bunch. Parents cannot touch this money, ever. Even in a severe family financial emergency, it is legally the child's property. The only grim exception is terminal illness. Otherwise, that money is entirely legally locked away until the child turns 18, at which point it automatically converts to an adult ISA, and your 18-year-old gets total, unrestricted control of the whole shebang.
And across all of these accounts, you still have to navigate these massive cross-cutting administrative hurdles. We're talking things like death and probate, freezing an ISA for 6 to 12 months, or emigration, which halts your contributions and kicks off a nightmare of foreign tax complexities, or even just random system errors and bank holidays delaying your totally urgent withdrawals. The bureaucracy is just, it's a lot.
All right, finally, Section 5, How to Layer Your Wealth, the Survival Strategy.
So, how on earth do we survive this bureaucratic minefield? We've seen the delays, the nasty penalties, the traps. Well, the absolute best strategy is to layer your wealth sequentially. Layer 1 is your easy access cash, never invested, always available. Layer 2 is for medium-term goals like a fixed cash ISA or a LISA for a house. Layer 3 is your long-term wealth, like stocks and shares. And Layer 4 is the next generation, your junior ISA. By actively separating these layers, a sudden financial shock will never force you to trigger those awful penalties. Your Layer 1 emergency fund literally acts as a shield, protecting every single other layer from being touched at the wrong time.
Okay, so here is your action plan. Step 1. Build a completely separate 3 to 6 month cash buffer outside of any locked ISAs. Step 2. Consciously seek out flexible ISA providers so you don't permanently burn your tax-free allowance if you absolutely have to dip in. Step 3. Check all those early penalty terms before you deposit a single pound. And finally, if you've got a junior ISA, start having those financial conversations with your kids way before they turn 18 so they really understand the power of compound interest when they finally get the keys to the account.
I want you to look at your own accounts today and ask yourself this final, somewhat provocative question. Is your emergency fund truly safe, or is it secretly trapped behind an ISA penalty wall, just waiting to cost you hundreds of pounds? Seriously, go check your terms, layer your wealth correctly, and make sure that the day you need your money, there are absolutely no surprises. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.